Good one, Blake. You're an asshole.
Jed Wallace is now saying he had life-threatening issues, a heart incident because of the stress of Blake Lively serving him paper.
Blake Lively just showed the world what real patheticness looks like by leaking Jed Wallace's private medical records in court.
The hair care line needs to be protected, but Jed's medical information didn't? You can keep stressing him out on something that he's sworn through the court of law that he didn't do.
All because he dared to deny being part of some imaginary smear campaign. Even though he's just a PR manager for Justin Baldoni, Blake's move was brutal, petty, and certified psycho.
If he did something wrong, he should be held liable for it. But if he did nothing wrong, this is terrible for his mental health and physical health, really.
Blake decided it was a genius move to leak Jed Wallace's confidential medical information. Yes, because when you're trying to look like the poor little victim, it's always smart to throw HIPAA protections out the window and let everyone know your opponent almost had a heart attack because of you. Great PR strategy, Blake. Really top-notch.
He's not allowed to sue and defend himself because I'm a victim, and he's now draining my bills and money and legal costs, and how dare he?
Of course, when people called her out for it, Blake did what she does best, faked like everything was fine and pretended she was thriving. And how did she try to save face? By shoving her Blake Brown Beauty hair care line down everyone's throat with 50% off sales. Because nothing screams I'm totally innocent like desperate shampoo deals clogging up everyone's Instagram feed. Look at my shiny hair. Ignore the fact that I'm leaking confidential court documents. Bravo, Blake. Truly inspiring.
Blake Lively just got roasted over the weekend by Justin Baldoni's lawyer, Brian Friedman, all while demanding that the court protect her hair care plan?
The timeline here is priceless. In New York court, they actually respected Jed Wallace's privacy and properly redacted his health information. But Blake, Queen Blake, decided she didn't need to follow those pesky little rules when she filed in Texas. Why protect someone's life-threatening heart condition when you can weaponize it for clout?
When combing through the 800 pages of mess Blake Lively filed in Texas last night, it appears that Jed Wallace's health condition was outed. Now, Jed Wallace had the New York court rightfully redact his private health information.
According to public records, the leak happened around March 2025, which is honestly hilarious when you think about how much her team preaches about protecting victims. Victims like Jed Wallace apparently don't count if they get in Blake's way.
It's wild. Mr. I Support Victims is trying to silence one, but the law won't let him. Well, here's what Blake Lively's team is declaring.
And what about the public? They're not dumb. They see what's going on. Blake's name is now tangled in a beautiful mess of hypocrisy, desperation, and lawsuits. She's trying to save her business while actively making herself look worse every single time she opens a filing cabinet. Honestly, it's impressive in the worst way possible.
So many of you are so upset because it's maddening what she's resorting to.
But let's zoom in on Blake's fatal mistake, shall we? Because this isn't just a little oopsie. This is full-on reckless behavior. In the Texas court filings, Blake went ahead and accidentally revealed Jed Wallace's cardiac health crisis. This wasn't some minor slip-up. This was private medical information that should have been sealed. HIPAA privacy rights? Basic human decency? Nah, Blake decided those were optional.
Now, Jed Wallace had the New York court rightfully redact his private health information, but Blake Lively and her attorney said, nah, we don't really care.
Jed Wallace, the guy Blake wants everyone to think is some evil puppet master, actually suffered a life-threatening heart incident. And Blake's legal actions were reportedly a huge stress trigger. But why would Blake care about that? She's too busy bottling fake compassion into overpriced shampoo bottles. Public outrage didn't just spark, it exploded. People were furious that Blake showed more care protecting the ingredients list of her shampoo than protecting a man's literal life.
This is a sworn affidavit declaring, which as he does, who he is, where he's from Texas, and specifically gets into that he didn't do anything.
And just to drive home how disgusting this is, the timeline is clear. That's when Blake's Texas filings hit, dragging Jed's private health struggles into public view. All because Blake thought it might score her a few points in court. All it did was make her look like the villain she's desperately trying to convince the world she's not.
Apparently, he has heart problems and there was some sort of cardiac event or cardiac health issue related to the stress surrounding this case. Good one, Blake.
But if you thought that was bad, wait until you hear about Jed Wallace's response. Because unlike Blake, Jed actually knows how to handle himself like a professional adult. He filed a sworn affidavit under penalty of perjury, mind you, absolutely torching every single ridiculous accusation Blake threw at him.
So this is Blake Lively's response to Jed Wallace's lawsuit. Now, some people go, oh, we don't care as much about Jed Wallace because he's not the famous person. We care about Justin Baldoni. But listen, he's got every much of a right to defend himself and fight for his, for his brand and for his reputation.
First off, Jed makes it crystal clear that he's never even met or interacted with Blake Lively. Not once. Not in person, not over email, not through some shadowy digital army hiding behind Reddit posts. Nothing. All those scary stories Blake's team loves to whisper about Jed orchestrating some giant sabotage campaign? Pure fiction.
Because she won that order, and now this is confidential, Judge. This is the trade secrets we talked about previously. Give me a break. Nonsense. Absolute nonsense. It's disgusting.
Jed didn't hire trolls. He didn't launch any secret attacks. He wasn't sitting in a dark room rubbing his hands together, plotting the downfall of Blake Brown Beauty. His role was simple: social media sentiment analysis. You know, watching how people naturally react online. Passive monitoring. No active attacks, no bots, no secret Illuminati meetings. Just observing that, shocker, people weren't loving Blake's behavior.
She's already out there declaring confidential requests for anything representing her Blake Brown Beauty products. Protective order authorizes third parties such as Blake Brown to petition the court to protective order similar safeguards to the extent that...
And then Jed hits Blake with the line of the year. I have no knowledge of or desire to harm Miss Lively's reputation, which is hilarious because Blake is doing such an amazing job destroying her own reputation. She doesn't even need help. If anything, Jed deserves a thank you card for not jumping in and making it worse.
Now using victims to try to get away with it, and then declare confidential declarants for my hair care line. Oh, but I suffered so much damage, so I want to talk about it, but we don't really get to talk about the details. And then completely throwing all these other people under the bus and not protecting their privacy. Make it make sense.
The timeline of Jed's involvement is also super important. He was connected with Justin Baldoni's camp between August and November 2020. That's it. Not 10 years of conspiracy, not a long, drawn-out war. A few months of passive observation and media trend analysis. Blake somehow managed to twist that into a full-blown smear campaign in her head. The mental gymnastics deserve a gold medal, honestly.
But then as you open up this environment that you declare a safe space, as soon as he says things similar to what you do, USH me, and now you are trying to defend yourself, so how dare you to silence victims? It is truly, truly sickening.
Everything about Jed's affidavit screams professionalism. No hysteria, no dramatic victim speeches, no shady leaking of private documents. Just a calm, clear, factual explanation completely demolishing Blake's fantasy narrative. If Blake had even a sliver of self-awareness, she'd be embarrassed reading it.
Penalty of law. I never publish directly or indirectly any information or content, negative or otherwise, regarding Lively. I've never met or interacted with Lively. I do not have a digital army in Los Angeles, New York, or anywhere else. I do not have work with or direct team in Hawaii. I have understanding of what a social combat or social manipulation plan could be.
But then again, this is the same Blake Lively who thought leaking a man's medical records was a good idea while trying to sell discounted shampoo. So expecting shame might be asking a bit too much.
That Jed Wallace has been, serious medical issues. Confidential medical information regarding the hospitalization he experienced due to health condition, which was worsened by the stress.
The funniest part is that the more Blake tries to scream about being a victim, the more the public sees how much of a hypocrite she really is, protecting shampoo ingredients like they're the formula for Coca-Cola while casually destroying someone's health privacy. Next level villain behavior. Acting like she's broke from legal fees while pushing 50% off hair care deals. Peak desperation.
This is much more complicated than Blake wants to. She's trying to use this as sort of the, I'm going to stand up for all victims, so you're going to rule in my favor, and therefore all other victims will be protected. And that's what's trying to happen. But as Ron said, no, it's much more complicated. You can watch his full response over there.
And the best part? All the while, Jed Wallace stands there calmly saying, "I didn't even touch you." Meanwhile, Blake's over there throwing legal tantrums, selling conditioner, and leaking private info like it's Black Friday at Walmart. If Blake's goal was to show the world how cruel, careless, and self-centered she could be, congratulations. She's absolutely nailing it. And just when you thought Blake couldn't embarrass herself anymore, in struts Brian Friedman, and he brought the flamethrower.
They add Justin and his lawyer, Brian Friedman, are so hell-bent on destroying Blake, they're trying to shed a law meant to protect victims and send a chilling effect to others.
Justin Baldwin's lawyer absolutely obliterated Blake's entire house of cards with one of the most savage clapbacks in recent legal memory. He called out Blake and her team for making inflammatory remarks to distract from facts. Translation: when you have no receipts, scream louder.
As was Brian Friedman, who responded very well, I have to add. This convoluted statement makes it abundantly clear that Miss Lively and team are rattled and once again resorting to making inflammatory remarks to steer focus away from the actual fact.
But Brian wasn't done. He took a beautiful swipe at Blake's sudden fake passion for victim advocacy, pointing out how during the entire film campaign, you know, the time when she could have actually helped people, she was too busy pushing her hair care and alcohol products. I mean, imagine crying about being a voice for victims after spending months forcing ASMR shampoo ads onto the internet like anyone cared about your top secret hair tips.
That's right, Justin Baldoni, the man who has built his brand on supposedly speaking up for victims, believes that the First Amendment rights of victims of SA and harassment to speak out should give way to the rights of perpetrators to sue their victims into oblivion.
And then came the line that deserves to be etched into stone. She does not need discovery to find out who smeared her. Just a mirror. Brutal, accurate, beautiful. Someone frame it and hang it in a museum. That one quote alone shattered whatever was left of Blake's pathetic victim act. Because at the end of the day, Blake didn't get smeared by some evil conspiracy. She got exposed by her own greed, arrogance, and sheer stupidity.
This is absurd to use that as a way to stand up for all victims. I'm sickened by the lengths she will go to.
Brian also made it painfully obvious that Blake's sudden empathy for survivors only showed up once her brand started circling the drain. Before that, nothing but shampoo cocktails and the sound of her own ego echoing through every red carpet she could find. It's honestly impressive how quickly she managed to turn public sympathy into pure disgust. The media isn't even pretending to buy her nonsense anymore. Brian's takedown basically gave everyone permission to say what they were already thinking. Blake Lively cares more about her brand than actual people.
It's also surprising that Miss Lively and her team are suddenly speaking so passionately about the hard-won rights of the survivor community, considering she sidestepped this topic for the entirety of the film campaign, focusing instead on her hair care and alcohol products, which at the time caused the organic backlash that she received.
And speaking of her brand, let's get into Blake's hair care shenanigans because they're the cherry on top of this disaster sundae. While she's out there crying about how her life is ruined, she's also demanding special court protections for her Blake Brown beauty line. Yep. She wants the court to treat her shampoo recipes like national security secrets. Apparently, her list of ingredients is more important than basic human privacy.
Because of her, Blake Brown, it's confidential. Trade secrets. We must protect the confidentiality here of this.
She even dragged international celebrities into it, who no one knows. She just kind of tossed that in there like a kid lying about having a celebrity cousin. Totally believable, Blake. Totally.
What international celebrities are in cahoots with Blake Brown? This is weird. This is absolutely weird. I don't understand it.
But here's where it gets even better. At the same time Blake is screaming that her business was destroyed by evil trolls, she's trying to block financial discovery that would actually prove if her sales took a hit.
Let's actually look at your sales. Let's actually open them up. You made this part of the case, Blake. It's in your report.
Because, God forbid, the truth comes out that her overpriced conditioner wasn't flying off the shelves in the first place. Can you imagine? Blake might actually have to admit that people weren't buying her hair care junk because it was expensive and unnecessary, not because of Reddit comments.
She refuses to take any accountability for what she actually did do, which was promote her alcohol brand, her hair care brand, instead of focusing on the issues.
The contradiction couldn't be more hilarious. Publicly, she's out here crying about business destruction. Legally, she's fighting tooth and nail to hide her numbers. Which one is it, Blake? Are you a tragic victim or a thriving business mogul? Pick a lane before you crash into yourself.
7 years I've spent on this hair care line that apparently was destroyed by Justin. Nice try, Blake.
And let's not forget the shameless hustle. Between March and April 2025, Blake flooded social media with aggressive influencer marketing and cringy ASMR shampoo videos. Buy one bottle, get the second one half off. Limited time only. Please forget that I leaked a man's private medical records in court. The desperation practically dripped off the screen, thicker than her so-called nourishing hair mask.
So, the hair care line needs to be protected, but Jed's medical information didn't? You can keep stressing him out on something that he's sworn through the court of law that he didn't do.
It's hard to even keep up with the spin at this point. On one hand, she wants sympathy because her career and business are supposedly destroyed. On the other hand, she's acting like a thriving beauty CEO, slapping discount stickers on every bottle she can find. It's like watching someone try to cry while they're cashing a paycheck. Embarrassing doesn't even begin to cover it. The truth is, Blake can hide her sales figures all she wants.
You know, all the international celebrities and trade secrets. No one's looking for the ingredients of your damn shampoo, girl. They want to know what are the sales and what happened. But she's going to try to do these shenanigans because she won that order.
She can scream about international celebrity endorsements and confidential trade secrets, but no amount of courtroom gymnastics is going to erase the fact that she nuked her own reputation. And the funniest part? All the smear campaigns she's whining about wouldn't even exist if she hadn't been so determined to humiliate herself every step of the way.
She won that confidentiality order, and I said, and I warned, just as Brian did in that courtroom, this is going to open up to a lot of silliness. A lot of things that Blake's team's going to try to use to make a lot of stuff seem secret, confidential.
At this point, Blake Lively's hypocrisy could win awards. Seriously. The way she guards her shampoo formula like it's the recipe for the Krabby Patty, while casually throwing other people's private information into public court records, is beyond pathetic. She's out here demanding the court protect her precious conditioner ingredients, but when it comes to Jed Wallace's heart condition, no big deal. When it comes to Justin Baldwin's PR team's home addresses, post them like it's your morning coffee. This isn't just a bad look. This is a walking, talking billboard for double standards. Blake's privacy is sacred. Everyone else's privacy, completely disposable if it helps her cry victim a little louder. And trust me, the public isn't dumb. People are watching, and they're disgusted. Blake isn't coming across as some poor harassed actress anymore. She looks vindictive, careless, and shockingly selfish. The media is catching on too. It's gotten to the point where people are legitimately comparing Blake to Amber Heard. And honestly, they're not wrong. Both of them love weaponizing the court system, sobbing about being poor little victims, while actively doing the exact things they accuse others of. If Blake's goal was to speedrun her way into the Hall of Fame for Hollywood hypocrites, congratulations, you're already there. And just when you think she couldn't get any more desperate, Blake decides to turn the courtroom into her own personal paper shredder. By late March 2025, her team dumped over 800 pages into the court system. 800 pages for what? To actually prove something? Nope. The real goal was simple: drown Jed Wallace and Justin Baldoni under a mountain of useless documents and bleed them dry financially.
And what's wild is there's now like 800 pages of this response to Jed Wallace. Now, full disclosure, a lot of that is because they're trying to port it over from Texas to New York, and so a lot of it just came into it with the amendments, etc.
This is a classic move when you have no real case. It's like trying to win a game of Monopoly by flipping the board over. If you can't beat them with facts, just exhaust them with paperwork until they can't afford to keep fighting. Very heroic, Blake. Truly the spirit of a real victim advocate. But
you didn't do okay. The movie did okay. you got the backlash for what you chose to do. And that's on you. That's not Justin's fault. I fully believe this. And it's disgusting to see she's still using real victims of SH, real abuse.
Legal experts were quick to point out Blake's shameless tactic of forum shopping too. Instead of sticking to one court, she bounced around between Texas, New York, and California, trying to find any judge gullible enough to buy her act. Again, textbook behavior for someone who knows they're losing and is desperately grasping at straws. Critics aren't even pretending to be polite about it anymore. They've called it exactly what it is: a death by paperwork plan. And not the clever kind, the pathetic, obvious kind that screams desperation louder than one of Blake's 50% off hair care sales. Every new filing Blake dumps into the system just shows the world how terrified she is of facing actual scrutiny.
This hair care line, Blake Brown Beauty. Buy one, get a second for only 50% off, guys!
Meanwhile, while Blake's spinning in circles and burning through forests worth of legal paper, Jed Wallace just calmly stands his ground. He remains the only defendant who had the guts to swear an affidavit under penalty of perjury, saying he did nothing wrong. No dramatic speeches, no publicity stunts, just facts. Compare that to Blake, who seems to think if she just files enough nonsense, maybe people will forget she leaked a man's private medical records and tried to blame the world for her own collapse.
You took over the marketing. Maximum Effort took over the marketing. Sony was just doing whatever you asked because you wouldn't do anything unless you kept getting your demands. And now you're going to blame them and everybody else when that fails.
But let's be honest, at this point, Blake Lively's entire PR empire is collapsing faster than her shampoo sales. And the best part? She did it to herself. In trying so hard to save her hair care brand, Blake managed to destroy her public image even more.
She does not need discovery to find out who smeared her. Just a mirror will do. Oh shit! Oh my God!
The public sees it. They're not siding with Blake. They're not buying the crocodile tears or the cheap shampoo sales. Sympathy is shifting rapidly. And it's not going toward the blonde millionaire crime victim while throwing other people under the bus. It's going toward Jed Wallace, Justin Baldoni, and the actual victims Blake tried to use as shields for her own bad behavior. At the end of the day, Blake's legal battles aren't about protecting herself from harassment or defending her honor. They're about protecting Blake's brand, her ego, her need to be the center of attention. This was never about justice. It was about Blake being Blake, demanding special treatment, lying through her teeth, and throwing anyone she could under the bus to make herself look good. Except now, nobody's buying it. Her brand is a joke. Her lawsuits are a joke. Her public image is in shambles. She tried to turn the court into her personal PR machine, and all she did was set it on fire and dance around in the ashes. Blake Lively isn't a victim of Jed Wallace or Justin Baldoni or the internet. Blake Lively is a victim of Blake Lively. And honestly, she deserves every bit of the backlash she's getting. Stay tuned, because Blake's downfall is just getting started. Smash that subscribe button so you don't miss a second of the meltdown.